All right, welcome everybody to the June 6th meeting of the City of Highland Park Zoning Board of Appeals. Patrick, maybe get an attendance roll call, please.
Yes. Member Chase?
Here.
Member Trushansky?
Here.
Member Beck?
Here.
Member Zaransky?
Here.
Member Colither?
Here.
Vice Chair Yablon?
Here.
And Chair Bay.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, good. All right, the first item of business we're going to take care of tonight is the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the May 2nd meeting?
Yes.
Yes, if so, I would entertain a motion.
Member Yablon makes a motion to accept the minutes as drafted.
Anybody second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes and the minutes are approved. Is there any business from the public that is not on our agenda? Anybody here to speak about something that's not on the agenda? Seeing nobody responding, I will take that as a no. So we'll move on to item 4, old business, of which there is none, which brings us to item 5 and the first order of new business. 5A, variation -2024-00018, property address 1837 Richfield Avenue. The appellant is Kazimierz Chetura. Is that close? Okay. And I will ask staff if we have a presentation.
Yes, we have a presentation. Thomas will be providing the presentation for this one.
Can everybody hear me well? Well, hello and good evening, everybody. My name is Thomas Valencia, and I'm a planning intern and management analyst with the City of Highland Park's Planning Division. And I'll be presenting to you VAR-2024-0018, which pertains to 1837 Richfield Avenue. And the applicant is Kazimierz Chetura. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. And yeah, so the proposal is to add an addition and a portico that will encroach into the required front yard. The subject property is in the R6 zoning district, and for that particular district, the minimum lot area is 7,260 square feet. That is what's required for that area. However, the existing home is actually substandard, only around 7,216 feet, so it is legally not conforming. And that existing home was built in 1954, according to the Lake County Assessor's Office. And the requested relief tonight for the subject property is to, 1, encroach into the required front yard setback of 25 feet by 11 feet along the southern property line for a total of 220 square feet for an addition to the primary structure. The second relief being to encroach into the required front yard setback of 20 feet for porticos by 9.84 feet along the southern property line for a total of 43 square feet for a proposed portico. And this is the site location of 1837 Richfield. Although not shown, a bigger representation of the area would be west of US Highway 41, so in the western part of the city. And this is the same area, just through an aerial view. And for the plat of survey, the lot area, as I stated before, is 7,216 square feet, which makes it substandard in comparison to the R6 requirement of 7,260 square feet. And the allowable floor area ratio, FAR, is 2,886 square feet. And one unique allowable rule here is that the allowable front yard encroachment is 5 feet, but however, that only pertains to the portico. And then here are some pictures of the property that were submitted by the applicant. The picture to the left is looking from Richfield Avenue, and the picture to the right is looking from Cavell Avenue. And then same thing here, some pictures. The picture to the left is the backyard, and the picture to the right is a different view, also from Richfield Avenue. And the proposed work which for the blue that is highlighting the existing structure of 2,207 square feet. If you can see that well, the orange rectangle is the lot that was made for the property. Of course, the lot being that narrow, it would be uniquely difficult to construct a house on that lot. So by default, the subject property becomes, not legally not conforming. And then what's in the yellow is what's being requested. The bigger yellow rectangle is the addition, and it'll be encroaching into the 25 feet front yard setback by 11 feet. And it'll be a total of 589 total square feet, with 220 square feet of that being encroaching. And then the smaller rectangle there is the portico. Because of that 5-foot allowable front yard encroachment, the total front yard encroachment ends up only being 20 feet. So therefore, the overall encroachment that portico will end up having will be 9.84 feet, and which will result in a 10.16 feet proposed front yard. And that entire portico will be 43 square feet, both total and encroaching. And then for here, this is actually part of the estimated building setback worksheet that the applicant sent. As you can see, several properties along Richfield Avenue are shown here. And one thing to note here, that although this was included as part of the application, this was not necessarily a requirement for the overall application, but it does help demonstrate that many of the properties along Richfield Avenue encroach. As you can see, there is an average setback of just 16.37 feet, which obviously is not the 25 feet required by R6. So the subject property would not be alone in encroaching into the front yard. And average setbacks for Cavell Avenue are not shown, despite the subject property having frontage along Cavell, although that's not necessarily an issue. And then showing here some elevation pictures. To the far left is the view from the west. To the upper right hand is view from the north. And on the bottom right hand is a view from the south. And as you can see on the view from the south, you can also see where the portico will be located, which is the smaller rectangle there. And then there were no comments from either forestry, building, engineering, public comment, and there were no post-packet posting submissions. And just to quickly review what the requested relief is, it is going to be 1, to encroach into the required front yard setback of 25 feet by 11 feet along the southern property line for a total of 220 square feet for an addition to the primary structure. And the second requested relief being to encroach into the required front yard setback of 20 feet for portico by 9.84 feet along the southern property line for a total of 43 square feet for a proposed portico. And the ZBA board should use chapter 150 of the zoning code standard of approval when reviewing this request for relief. And that is all I have for you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, good job. Questions for staff, anybody?
Is there any issue with, sorry, Member Yablon?
Vice Chair, yeah.
Oh, Vice Chair, sorry. Is there any issue with permeable ground with the different additions and deck?
I don't believe so. No, there's not. So the coverage, so this existing garage is a existing garage. The only coverage is the required rear yard, which is from here to about where the garage ends. So everything that is being added to the property isn't counted towards the coverage ratio.
And theoretically, if they were to be granted the variance, they still have to go through the permitting process, and that would be within the purview of the building department to
Yes,
see any
they'll still
issues.
review draining and drainage, but it is not a zoning issue. If they were to remove the garage entirely, then trying to replace it, there would be an issue, but this is not part of the request.
Okay, thank you.
I got a question.
Sure.
If the property wasn't a legally non-conforming property, would they have needed both variances, one variance?
So, it's because this is a corner lot. The corner lots have more setback. Because if this was an interior lot, they wouldn't have issues with it. But with the two front yard setbacks, as you can see, it's an issue for this entire neighborhood. The front yard setback, these lots are just very small and just don't have the depth to them to have these, I mean, they're adequately sized homes, and it's just a high front yard setback is the issue. So yeah, all of these corner lots are legally non-conforming.
Yeah, but if they were conforming, would they need any of these variances?
No, because they are just matching, here, I'll put it, they're just maintaining the line. So let's say that the existing property was at 25 feet here. They would be allowed to do this even with the portico, because as the portico can encroach into front yard setbacks up to 5 feet. So yes, if this was just an existing house, they wouldn't have any variation requests.
Well, that would depend on if you added the additional square feet, that it's under the code minimum, how the house was positioned on the lot. There's more than one piece to go to it. If that were on the house was where it is and it was in what is the interior side, a further distance from the neighboring house, you may still have requests before us.
Possibly.
There's a lot of variables.
Yes, possibly, but they are not extending further than what they currently are already encroaching.
Right, we're dealing with what's here, so.
Yeah.
I just want sort of a clarification question. So that orange line is what should be.
That's the buildable area.
It's not the lot area, it's the buildable area, right?
Yes.
But did these setback lines, did they exist when the house was built and it was built in?
It was built in 1950.
Was it in conformity when it was built? I'm just curious, because that's huge. This is just.
I don't know the zoning code of 1954. They were definitely different.
So probably not, okay.
Yeah. And then
That's
it
my
became
guess.
an existing
Right.
non-conforming use, yeah.
Right, that's what I was getting at in my brain. Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there anyone here who would like to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Someone here representing the petitioner wants to say something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'd ask you to come up to the podium. It's a good time to give our new procedural thing here, to let you know that the Zoning Board of Appeals is instituting a new check-in policy. If you testify, you must provide your information, and to receive and including name, address, and case, to receive a follow-up with the case results delivered by mail. You do not need to provide your information to testify, but please know, if you do not provide your information, you will not receive a follow-up by mail. Anyone that's a part of the applicant's team must also check in. What that means, to paraphrase, is we have a sign-in sheet. We're going to ask you your name, but we've decided that it's not wise policy to state your address for the record because you're not home. So we don't want everybody to know that you're not home when you're not home. But if you want notices to be sent to you, you have to give us that information and provide it to staff, and they will notify you.
Sounds good.
Okay. But having said that, I will now ask you to state your name for the record.
Sure, Victor Chihura.
Okay. And if you would raise your right hand, and I'll ask you if you solemnly attest or certify that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay. Please proceed.
All right, so what you guys kind of see here, it's a tough lot in general, just because of the length, and it's a corner lot, so it's 2 front yard setbacks. So that's kind of the reasoning there for the really narrow rectangle there for the buildable area. The reason why we're looking to encroach is The north side of the plan is, it's a split level home. So the split level part of the house is on the north side. So expanding to the left and having that be to the actual required setback, it would just limit the amount of area we would get from the living room and the kitchen, which is on the south side. So in order to expand the circulation of footprint and overall not aesthetics, but more so the functionality of the house, the south side expanding and maintaining that front elevation gives us the most optimal floor plate for this house.
That's it?
Yep.
Anybody have any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to be heard on this matter? Anybody else here? Seeing nobody, we will now poll the members of the board and get their opinions as to what's going on. Why don't we start with Member Chase?
Well, I guess I'm curious what the hardship is if we don't grant this. I don't know if I've heard what the hardship is if they aren't able to do this. That's a question I have.
I'm going to venture a guess that they're going to say that the hardship is the shape of the lot and the undersized lot, and that kind of restricting the logical buildable area on that lot.
It's a corner lot, too.
It's a corner lot,
And it's a
yeah.
corner lot.
Yeah, it's two front.
So they're subject
There's
to
the two front
different
setbacks.
setbacks.
Makes it, there's really no place to go.
Would you care to otherwise opine?
Yeah, I'm looking at it, if they want to add more living space to the residents, this seems, if they want to add more residents, I see that they are limited by the size of the lot, the configuration of the lot, the double setbacks, and I don't see that there's any, I don't see any negatives. So I would be, at this point, do you want to say we're inclined to approve? Or I would be inclined to approve it.
Thank you. Member Trushansky.
Yeah, I agree. These requests, I believe, stem from the property being on a legally non-conforming lot. I think these are relatively small asks. I don't see any evidence that that the variations will alter the essential neighborhood of the essential character of the neighborhood, I should say. So I would be in favor.
Okay. Member Beck?
Well, to me, it's a pretty easy grant of the request. It looks like they could build a landing strip rather than a house based on the buildable area.
That's a zoning issue, I think.
Yeah, so I agree there's a hardship in all the other comments from the other commissioners, so I would vote in favor.
Member Zaransky?
I agree also. I was going to say they could build a driveway, but, it's clearly an issue on this lot and on the street, rather, and I would support the variance.
Member Culver?
I would agree with my colleagues. I think that the hardship is obviously the corner lot, the shape of the lot, the fact that it is a non-conforming lot. Whether or not, I believe that for the applicant to reasonably enjoy the use of their lot, that in a manner that they want, that they have explained to us that, this makes it the most livable space versus if you did put the addition elsewhere. And obviously a portico can only go on the front of the house in this instance. So I would agree with my colleagues.
Thank you. Vice Chair Yellen.
I'm going to agree with my colleagues as well as their rationale for why the standards have been met and would be in favor of this project.
Thank you. I will make it unanimous and agree with everyone so far. I would favor this. I do believe the standards have been met and would vote accordingly to approve it. Having said that, I will entertain a motion.
I will move that we adopt the draft variance as written by staff and in the packet.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, so that was a motion by Member Culliford to adopt the submitted variation approval order, seconded by Member Zaransky. Patrick, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Member Chase?
Aye.
Member Trushansky?
Aye.
Member Beck?
Aye.
Member Zaransky?
Aye.
Member Caulfield?
Aye.
Member Yablon? Vice Chair Yablon?
Aye.
And Chair Beck.
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move on to the second and what I believe to be the only other item of new business this evening. That's variation -2024-00019, property address 41 Sheridan Road. Appellant is Travis Johansson. Staff, do we have a presentation?
I do.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, 41 Sheridan Road. The applicant is Travis Johansson, and their proposal is to construct a gate and fence within their front yard. And there's also a subdivision building line in this case. The existing home is on a R5 zoning district with a minimum lot of 12,000 square feet, which they meet. The existing home was built in 1929, according to the Lake County Assessor's Office. So the two requests are to exceed the maximum allowable fence height of 4 feet by 2.5 feet to allow a gate of 6.25 feet in a height of a distance of 14.5 feet within the property's front yard. I wrote that like a tongue twister. Second is to encroach the approximately 35 feet within the 40-foot subdivision setback line, measured from the south property line along Sheridan Road to construct the fence and gate. This is both a Chapter 150 and a Chapter 173 case, so you'll be using both standards. Here's the property highlighted in yellow. It is on the southernmost portion of Highland Park along Sheridan Road. From the aerial, it's also backing up to the steep slope zone. So the plat of survey, the orange line here is the subdivision building line, which meaning any structure placed within this area will require a variation from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And so that is why they're here. And also for the gate, that will be higher than 4 feet in height, which is the allowed height for a fence in the front yard. Here are some property photos. The photo on the left is from Sheridan. Pretty much where you see the city car is about where the gate will be located. And the picture on the right is further down the driveway, looking out, the fence and gate will be coming across their property. The orange box is again signifying the 40-foot subdivision building line. The red is the approximate location of where the fence will be located across the driveway. And the yellow, which is a little hard to see, will be a 4-foot fence. So the 4-foot fence is, they're allowed to put a 4-foot fence if not for the subdivision building line. The only height request is for the gate, which will be at a max height of 6.25 feet. Here is a rough drawing of what the gate will look like. The gate's total height is 71 inches, but providing a few inches of off the ground so the gate can actually open. That is why it will be at a height of 6.25 feet. And here is the subdivision plat. So again, the orange box is the 40-foot subdivision line. I realize this is very difficult to see, but this subdivision is only 2 lots. The green is the subject lot, and this is their neighbor property, 37 Sheridan Road. This is important because 37 Sheridan Road came in for a variation to put a 5-foot fence within their front yard setback and was approved in 1999. That is the only other house in this subdivision that has a subdivision building line. The other houses neighboring do not have the subdivision building line. This subdivision was made in 1985 for just these 2. So the only ones affected are these 2 properties, and one already came in for a variation.
May I ask a question on that?
Sure. Yeah.
But with regards to the 6-foot height, that would affect the other properties as well, correct? If the ones that are not subject to the subdivision, if they still wanted a 6-foot fence, they'd be before us.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
That doesn't change anything for the height portion, just the chapter 150 consideration. So yes, thank you for clarifying that. We received no other comments from city divisions, and we received no comments from anyone from the public either. So again, this is to exceed the maximum allowable fence height of 4 feet by 2.5 feet to allow a gate 6.25 feet in height for a distance of 14.5 feet within the property's front yard, and to encroach approximately 35 feet within the 40-foot subdivision building line, measured from the southern property line along Sheridan Road to construct the fence and gate. Again, the board should be using Chapter 150 for the subdivision building line section, and then Chapter 173 for the height. And if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to help.
Just to clarify, Patrick, so we've got 2 separate requests and 2 separate sets of standards to apply. One applies only to the fence, and that only the fence standards should be used in considering the height of the fence. And then the other is the encroachment, where only the zoning standard should be.
Correct.
And the encroachment standard, again, to be somewhat repetitive, is only because they're part of a subdivision that in
That has
essence ends. The next door house doesn't have that same setback restriction. Same.
Well, they did, but they came into the zoning board.
On the other side.
Oh, on the other side, no, they do not have the subdivision. They actually do have a fence in their front yard as well.
Thank you.
Is there a setback, is there any other setback that would affect this? I mean, is there a municipal setback other than the subdivision setback?
For the structure itself, no. You can have if there was no subdivision building line, you could have a 4-foot fence. They would still have to come in for the gate, for the fence
Right.
height portion. But if this subdivision building line did not exist, they wouldn't need it for the yellow portion you see, which would be a 4-foot fence.
And the subdivision's from, did you say 84?
I believe it was 85.
Okay.
So the other houses that border this subdivision, you said they also have fences, and they are essentially parallel to where they're proposing to put theirs?
Yes, this property has a fence. I believe this property has a fence as well. This is the property that was approved to place a 5-foot fence within the subdivision building line.
So if
After
we were
that-
to pretend that there was an established setback for the fences, this would probably come in line with that. You know, if you took the
Yeah,
average of all the other
so-
fences in the neighborhood.
It's difficult to see, maybe I'll pull up this. You can kind of see it in.
You know, while Patrick is doing that, Vice Chair Eglon was kind enough to remind me that I could ask you gentlemen, if you don't need to stay if you don't want to. Perfect. If you're.
Oh, yeah, you're free to go.
Okay, we're free. Didn't want to think you were chained here, you know, so. But maybe you're just interested in fences.
We are. So this is a little clear. These according to the survey, are the neighboring fences. I'm noticing that my cursor is impossible to see here, but the X is there, that's the neighbor's fence, and then the circle dots on the other side is the other neighbor's fence. So yes, they would line up with
Yeah.
the neighbor's fences.
No, I know this area, so I'm thinking about driving past it, and yeah, there's fences. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Not seeing any, I will ask, seeing one, Vice Chair.
What's the order of decision-making for this?
Interesting.
I'm going to say logically, you would have to give them the encroachment relief first, otherwise the fence kind of becomes irrelevant if they can't build the fence there.
That's what that makes sense.
Oh, it's up.
Just employing logic to the extent it applies.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we had to do one.
Would you agree with that, Patrick?
Yeah, I would agree, yeah.
Okay.
Because if you said no to just 150, then they couldn't put the gate there at all.
Okay. All right, any other questions? No? Somebody here would like to speak on behalf of petitioners? If I could ask you to state your name for the record, please.
Sure, Travis Johansson.
And do you affirm or swear that testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
Property owner, as Patrick outlined, my neighbors all have a fence. They're all over the 4 feet. We're looking to build a fence that's actually within zoning at 4 feet. As Patrick pointed out, it's only the subdivision that has the setback issue, and the only other house that has a setback issue got the variance to go around it, so we're only asking to be treated the same. And then all the houses in the area also have a gate, and we're just requesting to put a gate in. And in order to do that gate across the width of the road, it needs to be a little bit taller just to hold the gate. Because it's over 15 feet wide, so it needs to have the structure to hold it. And just like my neighbors, their sections for their gates all go over the 4-foot variance as well. We're trying to do it. My wife is actually an interior designer. She wished she could be here today, but she is recently pregnant, we just announced.
Congratulations.
So, thank you, thank you. She's having morning sickness, and she's wondering why in the hell they call it morning sickness, because it's not in the morning.
And that's now public information.
Sorry. For posterity.
Anyways, so she's an interior designer by trade, and she wants to, it's a David Adler house, and we want to make it to match, thus the ornament gate. And our gate builder, who is here, actually had a gate that was already produced, but the buyer for the gate was unavailable. So we have the actual gate that makes my wife happy. Happy wife, happy me. That we can get cost effectively to install, and it actually fits the width too. Everything's nice. We just need a request from that variant. We're putting in this fence because we have 2 lovely puppies, just like our next door neighbors do, and we want to make sure that they stop running over and out onto the street, and we don't want them to die. Electric fence, we tried, did not work.
It's a pretty busy area there, right? Where
Yes.
Sheridan kind of turns, or Lake Cook turns into Sheridan, or Sheridan turns into Sheridan, or goes into Lake Cook, and it's,
Yes,
I know
it is.
people are making kind of fast right turns right around that corner there.
Yes, unfortunately, this is very true.
Any questions for the applicant? Member Beck.
So the rest of the fence is 4 feet, correct?
Correct.
Why 6 feet for the driveway?
Simply because we've got a gate that is already built, that happens to be there that we could use. And then secondly, it's a wood gate. So we're trying to match the look of the house, which is a 1929 house. We didn't want to put in a big metal blah, blah, blah. We wanted to make it more aesthetic. And the wood gate's got to stretch. So we're looking across the entire gateway. I'm not an engineer, but my understanding is that we need to have strength in that, so we need to have a little bit of size in that to stretch the distance. And then the other thing is it does scope down. That drawing isn't really very accurate. It actually scopes down a decent amount. not below the 4 feet, but about 4.5, 5 feet. And then if we went to a 4-foot step gate and then we still scoped it down, we're not really having a gate. Now we're having something that's here that my doggies can probably just hop over.
I think we're also need to be reminded that the fence standards are different than the zoning standards. So we're not necessarily looking for him to prove that he needs it. It's more to prove that it fits in and doesn't harm anything if we are to grant it. Just a point of order. Any other questions for the applicant?
I have a general question. When we grant a gate or fence request, that's going forward in perpetuity, that the next person could say, great, I want a 6-foot solid iron beast of a gate, and they could do it. Right?
They could,
Feasibly, yes.
Because we're
yeah,
not-
technically, yes, okay.
Because we're not approving this gate, we're approving any gate in perpetuity, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that. But but we still have to apply the standards.
Of course.
And so the request that's in front of us is, the answer, the question is, will it be detrimental to the harmonious, orderly growth of the city, or will it, will it cause a substantial depreciation? I don't know that we can worry about I don't know that we can not grant something, worry about somebody's poor taste in the future.
I agree with you 100%, but I believe it has to be part of the balancing of we are not giving a variance just for this gate, it's for any gate that's 6 feet tall in the future.
I would
That's
think
it.
that would raise a question for staff, which may end up having ultimately be submitted to Corporation Council. Can we condition our approval in saying that we would not want a beast of a gate there, but we're approving this specific gate, and we'd only...
For the life of this gate.
For the life of this gate, and if the gate ever has to be replaced, they'd have to come back before us again if they wanted to do something different.
You could put a sunset clause if you'd like to. I would remind you that the neighbor did receive a request, or did approve the request for I believe it was a 5.5-foot fencing gate. So it's not out of the character of the neighborhood. But that, yes, a sunset clause we've done with a couple in the past, that if you were to tear down the existing structure, that you would need to then come back for a variation.
Would that be acceptable to the applicant?
Well, first off, we're planning on being there for a very long time, and we do not want to put up a beast of a gate, so I have no issues there.
Okay. So I think you raise a valid point. If we could condition it or sunset it where it would avoid a future problem such as what you raised, that's probably not a bad idea.
Because this is gorgeous.
Thank you.
And this is already a gate in being. I mean, it exists. And, right.
Not on the property yet. We're hoping for that.
I guess my question, I have a question, this is probably for Patrick. The variance that was granted for the property next door, was it for a fencing gate? Was it one thing, or was it bifurcated like this one was?
Let's see if we can see it. I don't have a
So I can answer, I
picture.
looked on Google Maps. and,
Perfect.
It's a gate, it's two gates, it's not a big beast of a gate.
No, I think she was wondering if
I was
there's a
wondering-
fence along the property line, then a gate.
Yeah,
So there would have, but it would have been, we wouldn't have been considering the gate because we would have had to, we would have to consider the setback line but you're saying that we didn't have to consider the height for the other one? It was within the,
No.
No,
it
it's a-
wasn't,
it's a 5
that
foot.
wasn't our
5 foot it
issue.
would've- At
Okay.
5 foot, it would have had to come before this body.
Anything over 4 feet.
It did, in
Right.
94.
Okay.
or
Right.
So it was likely a very similar request, and there were two components to it, and they were both
Okay,
granted.
I was just curious about that. Okay,
Any other questions?
well, this is very helpful. So
Everybody
everybody's
has a gate.
fenced.
Everyone has a
everyone's
gate and everyone has a fence. We're the only house that does not.
I mean, she's
You
the
must
best
feel
one
left
for
out.
trick or treating.
No other questions? All right. Anybody else want to be heard on this matter? Did your gate builder or anyone want to say anything or no? No? You're good? Okay.
Good.
Patrick, do you have something? You look like you're about to say
Sorry.
something.
Okay. I lied.
Another question, okay.
And can you say anything more about the height versus the width? Because I'm not familiar with needing it to be taller to be,
So, I mean,
Too stable or whatever?
Yeah,
That's my question.
I don't know
Each
anything.
section of the gate is a little bit smaller than what this is right here. And most of the height is actually the pillar that's going to hold it. So we have to have a pillar that's going to go into the ground to concrete, and it's going to hold this as a wood gate.
I know this is,
Just got to try and speak.
He's
into the
got to
microphone.
try to hear you.
Yeah.
yeah, because this is a recorded.
I'm sorry, I'm a visual person.
No, that was
All good.
helpful.
So.
Can we get the blue man over there?
The sound guy's going,
Like a true surgeon.
So we've got a gate that's not quite as big as this, but it's wood, and just wood engineering, if I had made this like this, right, and I came across here, it wouldn't have the strength out here to hold it. You need to have a triangle, you need to have distance in order to create that strength out of it, and.
It's kind of like a fulcrum almost.
Exactly,
Okay, now
and
you're
this
both being
gate
fancy.
comes down. So the pillar itself is the tallest portion, then you've got the gate, and then the gate comes down. So we're not very far off of the 4-foot variance in the center of the gate itself. And if we were doing a 4-foot variance for the pillar, and then we were a couple inches off of the 4 foot's like right here, right? If we were a couple inches off of that for the gate, and then we scoped down, and then we also had 4 inches off the ground because we have to have, we'd have a gate that's down here that I could just,
So the height is to support the fence?
height support the
I
gate.
mean,
The
try to
fence-
support the gate.
Correct.
It has to be a certain ratio, and this was, okay, I think
Yeah.
I think I get it.
Congratulations, you just made the final 12 on American Idol.
I was going to say, I hope his middle school geometry teacher is listening tonight, because I think he used it finally.
Finally.
Member Zaransky, you have a question?
I guess I'm a little bit more confused, because in the sketch of, or whatever this is of the gate, is showing the gate is basically 71 inches, so it's 6 feet, not 4 feet.
So the pillar itself is 71 inches. The gate itself is actually a little bit below that. So 71 inches is the height total max that we need to put in the request and the variance for. Then the gate is a little bit below that. And this is I think an original drawing for before it was actually, the gate was made, but or drawing, I honestly have no idea where this drawing came from. But the gate itself actually scopes down substantially more than what this drawing shows. But it's a wood gate that is built to look like that kind of.
Any chance your gate builder has a picture of it on his phone?
Do you have a picture?
I do.
Okay.
Especially if we're going to try and condition the order based on image.
We don't have to.
Magic.
No, I was just, so we could get an
I
idea.
agree, but I'm just saying that we're attaching an image that doesn't even, is not relevant.
I'm personally fine with what we have, so.
Everybody okay at this point?
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. How about if there anything else that you would like to add?
No, I'm good.
Nobody else wants to be heard on this matter? Okay. All right, in that case, we will poll the members of the board, and we will start with member Zaransky, because he was confused, so I figured I'd
Confused.
give him a chance.
Generally, I really don't like 6-foot fences or close to 6-foot fences in front yards, but I believe in this application. I think that this makes sense. I think you kind of prove the, what's going on in the neighborhood and kind of how it makes sense. And I believe that I would support this variance. I'm looking forward to hearing what others have to say, but at this point, I think I would probably be in favor.
How about we go to Member Culliver next?
I'm going to agree with Member Zaransky. I too am not generally a favor of 6-foot fences in front yards. I'm glad to see you're doing a 4-foot for most of it, and that there are just going to be 2 pillars of whatever size I'm presuming that the gate hangs off of, and that becomes a matter of necessity. I think you've explained why you need the 6-foot versus just the 4-foot. And I would be in favor of granting this in perpetuity.
Member Trushansky.
I don't really have much to add. I agree with how the order is currently written. I would vote for it, but if everyone else is more comfortable with adding in a sunset clause, I would sign on to that too.
Member Beck.
Well, I'll address the first issue, which is the placement, that we're supposed to address that first, correct?
Correct.
So using the standards of the, section 150, I think they've been met. I think there's a very, very busy, dangerous street, and having a fence up, that close, and it doesn't change the character of the neighborhood, given that everyone else has a fence in the same location. So I'm fine with that, and I'm also fine with the height of the fence. So I would vote in favor of both,
Thank you,
using
Member
both
Chase.
standards.
The placement of the fence first, I don't have a problem with it. I think they've met the standards. I also don't agree. It doesn't seem to change the essential character of the neighborhood. In fact, I think it makes it blend in more with the neighborhood. And the fact that only 2 of the lots have that building setback line, the rest of the lots on the street don't have it. I think the standards have been met. As to the height of the gate, I also am not crazy about big 6-foot tall fences in front yards, but I understand why it needs to be. So I think I too am okay with this gate. I understand why it has to be built the way it is, but I think adding a sunset clause I would support that, to have to come back if a new tall gate was proposed.
Thank you. Vice Chair Yep.
First, just as a point of clarification, the fence that we're talking about, the vast majority is a 4-foot fence, correct? It's
Yes.
not a 6-foot fence. The only thing that's 6 feet
Is the gate.
is the gate.
Yes. And only part.
And the poles.
Right, okay,
Support
so,
on the gate, yeah.
so starting with the first standard, totally fine with having the fence in that location. I think it's appropriate. I also appreciate that you are not asking for additional consideration for a 6-foot fence and staying with the allowed 4-foot fence, and I appreciate that in terms of the ask. I think, as I said earlier, I think your gate looks gorgeous, even from the drawing that isn't quite right, but I think it looks gorgeous. And I would be in favor of approving that gate and to have it have some sort of sunset, because what I'm concerned about is by granting just any 6-foot gate at any time, that not you, but that a future resident would come back and say, I don't know what the last owner was thinking, but we have a 6-foot gate and we want 6-foot fences that match the 6-foot gate.
Well, to change the fence, they would need to
Come
back to us.
Right, but I understand that they would need to come back to us. I'm just saying, I'm thinking about just the future and someone saying, well, now we want this too, like give a mouse a cookie moment.
We'll let you make the motion when the time is right.
Oh, God.
I neglected last time to ask the opinion of our student representative, Evan. I apologize, but I'll give you a chance if you want to say something now.
I believe everything I would want to say has already been said. I agree with all of you.
Okay. All right, and I really have nothing to add. I agree. I'm fine with both the subdivision or setback relief as well as for the height variation for the fence. And I know the neighborhood very well. I believe you live next to the Dolan's, don't you? I'm your neighbor on Ivy Lane, so I know it's very busy right there where they go in. So anyway, so having said all that, I would entertain a motion. Vice Chair Yevlin?
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
can we say who wants, or ask who wants the,
Well, I think that'll be evident in the vote, but if you want to.
no,
I
the
think she's
gate.
trying to avoid a negative vote. if people-
No, for the, if everyone except the two of us are fine with a 6-foot gate in perpetuity, I'd be willing to,
Can we do a poll on
Yeah,
perpetuity?
is there a preference for whether we want to grant this in perpetuity without the sunset clause or with the sunset clause? We'll just go down
I would say without.
without. Brad, Member Zirinsky?
I'm indifferent. Is it going to slow him down from installation? If it is, I would be opposed. If it isn't,
Yeah, because we may have to come back to it.
Be drafted by Corporation Council.
Yeah, so if, we just have to be very, very specific with the motion. And if done very specifically, I can make those changes and I can have Bay sign them after, they don't have to be continued. The only thing is that I may point out is that it seems like it's more of a material, you're concerned about a big metal gate, and I don't know if we're supposed to be really thinking about materials as much when we're providing the,
well, I'm just,
I
it was
know,
like a
it's just,
visual,
it's a
like,
slippery
just-
slope of like, if we start doing that, people may think that we're gonna, for other variations, talking about the materials in which they're constructing is affecting how they're gonna get their variation. I just want to state that as a concern about the reasoning for the sunset clause.
So I guess I support either way. I just don't want to cause them a delay.
Member Call?
I'm in favor of perpetuity, forever. I don't think we need to do the life of the current.
I'm just going to go right down the line, so I'll say also, I think you're right, I think it's a good point, but I think it's probably just a technicality that would never come into play, and it's really very unlikely that someone's going to come in there and want to turn this into Game of Thrones with a moat and everything else. So I would be all right granting it without worrying about it. So, what about you?
I agree, I could grant it with, as it's currently written.
Member Chase?
I am in favor of a sunset, but I don't want to stop the process, and it sounds like I'm in a minority, so.
Just have one question for the, how long do you expect this deck to last, the gate to last? Like what?
Oh,
My lifetime.
Well, I don't.
Yes, we have a good builder.
How long should it last? It should last a lifetime. It's actually got an internal stainless steel frame, so I mean, it is built to last a long time. It's Western grade A.
If we wouldn't mind,
You need to
We
come up
probably
with a-
should. I was going to let you get away with a sentence or two, but we now have to swear you in.
I didn't mean to, I know everyone wants to get home.
If you state your name for the record, please, sir.
John Deeney.
And you affirm or attest testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and
I do.
something, words to that effect, okay. Thank you, go ahead.
So the gate's built with an internal stainless steel frame and then a clear western red cedar built around it. So it's a beautiful gate. I'm going to say it's going to be the most beautiful one on the street, but it is meant to last, what we say, a lifetime of, 20 plus years.
Any other questions? That's it, all right. We've gone about as far as we can with this one, so I will once again ask for a motion.
I will move that we adopt the variance as drafted, or variances. Is it one order or two?
I think it's just one.
One, okay.
Member Beck seconds.
All right, that's a motion by Member Cullither to approve the variation order as drafted, seconded by Member Beck. Patrick, can we get a roll call vote, please?
yes. Member Chase?
Aye.
Member Trashansky?
Aye.
Member Beck?
Aye.
Member Zaransky?
Aye.
Member Cullither?
Aye.
Vice Chair Yablon?
Aye.
And Chair Beck?
Aye. Congratulations, motion passes 7-0. You're good to go. Thank you.
The neighborhood part had nothing to do with it.
To try the line. like smelling limes
Yes.
and like lime in my water made it much better. I can't tell you why, but
His flagpoles are a lot higher than 4 feet.
I couldn't have gotten through my son.
All right, I'm sorry, but we are still in session, so let's wrap this up first before we start talking about our water. So,
Morning sickness.
Thank you.
good night. Patrick, do we have a staff report?
I have no staff report now.
No staff report. Anything else under miscellaneous that anybody wants to bring up?
May I?
You may.
And that is that I think it was pointed out tonight that there seems to be a very large neighborhood that is in non-compliance with the code as far as lot size, and that maybe staff and city council should put it on their back burner agenda, that maybe that needs to be looked at with regards to a code change to make an entire neighborhood in compliance.
Noted.
Councilperson Ross, would you care to say anything in response to that? Or?
Just that I will bring that forward to the city manager.
Thank you.
Great. I heard the discussion, yeah, thank you.
Anything else under miscellaneous? Seeing nothing, I will move to adjournment and entertain a motion.
Well, I'll keep my streak going. I'll move that we adjourn.
Remember, you have 1 second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.